Welcome back, True Seeker. It is Saturday, October 11th, 2025. And one of the big stories today is Oscar winning actress Diane Keaton has passed at age 79. And almost every headline about her mentions her Oscar winning role in Annie Hall, the Woody Allen film. And as we've shown so many times, when these big name celebrities pass, they die in connection to what they're remembered for. In the case of Diane Keaton, no doubt about it, it's Annie Hall. And to see through the ritualism of the deaths of these celebrities, or at least the way they're reported, again, you got to know that practice that's had movies made about it, songs made about it, TV shows made about it. Again, the practice of murder by numbers, where whether you're watching the movie or listening to the song, it's about how killing is done by a code of ABC is 1, 2, 3. And if you think Diane Keaton passed naturally today, here's the counter argument to why that's probably not the case. Notice from her January 5th birthday to her death today is exactly 40 weeks into her age. And in Gematria, Annie Hall equates to 40. And realize we're just getting started, because there's going to be so many examples here that just become, or at least they should become, more undeniable as we go. But this is just the starter. The woman who portrayed Annie Hall is dead exactly 40 weeks into her age. And if you're new here, the way you get that value of 40 is you just take the alphabetic order. A is 1 up to Z is 26, and you apply numerology to each letter. So A is 1 because it's the first letter. N is the 14th letter. The numerology of 14 is 1 plus 4 is 5. I is the 9th letter. E is the 5th. H is the 8th. A is the 1st. L is the 12th. The numerology of 12 is 1 plus 2 is 3. So you just break each letter down to a single digit number based on its placement in the alphabetic order. And this is why there is an alphabetic order, so that you know which letter's the first and which one's the last. Because the alphabets that came long before English were based on this letter, number, and sequence. We're talking about the biblical languages, Hebrew, Aramaic, and ancient Greek. And of course, 40 is a very biblical number. We all know who runs Hollywood. Just for the record, Old Testament equals 40. So does United States. A couple of weekends ago, I was telling you why there were twin mass shooters who are both 40-year-old military vets. Again, it's not an arbitrary number, 40, but in this case, it does tie in with Annie Hall. And notice that film released in history April 20th. From the anniversary of the release date to October 11th is exactly 25 weeks. And here we are in 2025, and just the name Annie alone is 25. If you run the alphabetic order in reverse and apply numerology, death is 25. And the film is done by Woody Allen, and he also co-stars Woody Allen, who's been banned from the country because he's a perv. Again, it's his kind that mostly practice this letter and number thing. But notice it's 50 days before Woody Allen's birthday. If you run the alphabetic order in reverse with numerology, again, Z is 1 back to A is 26, Annie Hall equals 50. So what are the odds she would die 40 weeks into her own age and 50 days before Woody Allen's birthday? Now, notice the film did come out April 20th, but it premiered March 27th. From that day to her death is 198 days. And her Hollywood name, Diane Keaton, it's not her birth name. Her birth name is Diane Hall, but she went by Diane Keaton. Her name equals 198. And here we're just running the alphabetic order in reverse, but we're not applying numerology. Again, if you're new here, there's 4 base ciphers of the English language: the alphabetic order, the reverse alphabetic order, and both orders with numerology applied. And again, you look at pretty much everything that goes on in the media and entertainment in the world of rig sports, rig markets, rig crypto with these 4 base ciphers of the English language, you'll see the ritualism. And I'm always amazed when I finish one of these videos, somebody goes, how do you know which cipher to use? You guys, I use the same 4 ciphers for every decode, because this is exactly how I learned about the English language being encoded from the book, The Secret Teachings of All Ages by Manly P. Hall. This is what he revealed. It's the system, and it's clearly the system, because look, it shows you through the news day after day. It just It's like laser vision. It's like being Roddy Piper and They Live. And Diane Keaton has died on a date that has 66 numerology. Her birth name is actually Diane Hall, which equates to 66. So that's her actual birth name. The date she's died, 10 plus 11 plus 20 plus 25, 66. She's dead at 79. Murder equals 79. As we know, Murder by Numbers, the movie poster, there's a lot encoded into it. You see how the orange numbers around the words murder by numbers are 7 and 9? And again, if you're new here, let me just put up the word murder for you. With the alphabetic order, murder is 79. With the alphabetic order, numerology is 34. We've talked about that one a lot lately, especially with Charlie Kirk's passing 34 days from his birthday. When you run the alphabetic order in reverse, murder is 83. Look at that movie poster. They code the 3883 in the words. The song Murder by Numbers by the Police, where killings as simple as ABC is 1, 2, 3, came out in 83. She put out her movie Heaven in 87, which was 38 years ago. 38 years ago. And about dying at 79, Annie Hall is set in Brooklyn, New York, which also equals 79. A lot of Woody Allen types in Brooklyn, New York, if you know what I mean. So, the plot of Annie Hall. Comedian Alvy Singer is trying to understand why his relationship with, and that's Woody Allen's character, his relationship with Annie Hall ended a year earlier. Growing up in Brooklyn, he vexed his mother with impossible questions about the emptiness of existence and was precocious about his innocent sexual curiosity, suddenly kissing a classmate at 6 years old and not understanding why she was not keen to reciprocate. A few other things that are noteworthy. If you look at this film, it runs 93 minutes. Remember, that's the number of Saturn. She's died on a Saturn's day. The budget was $4 million and it made $44 million at the box office. As we know, those are fateful numbers. Talked about that this morning with the shooting in Mississippi. While Ole Miss is ranked number 4, this morning's shooting, they first reported 4 dead, and then it went up for the number of death in the occult. But that shooting was in Washington County on the day that Ole Miss beats the Washington State Cougars. Again, if you are new here, you start to learn what's going on, you'll start to see it's all synced. Again, the cabal runs it all, and they love to sync up the rigged football games with the mass shootings. Of course, these schools have the young minds in them that are super impressionable, and most people in college today have grown up in the SH age, the thing that happened in Newtown, Connecticut, where they've been learning for the last, better part of I suppose almost getting close to it's before you know, it'll be 2 decades worth of nonstop mass shootings, but they're learning to live in fear and give up their rights and liberties. And anyway, it's the same type of people orchestrating all this chaos by the same old repetitive code with the same old numbers. And I guess the one other thing that could be said is Annie Hall came out in 1977, which means it came out 48 years ago. And we know who makes these movies, the place that names themselves after the wood used by druids to cast magical spells. But Hollywood, 48. Movie's 48 years old, and we all know who really runs Hollywood, the Illuminati. And everyone's like, Illuminati, huh? Yeah, the Illuminati. The same one that George Washington penned a letter about, his concerns about it infiltrating Freemasonry and government. He wrote a letter back in the 1700s about this. The Illuminati that was founded May 1st, 1776, right before the American Revolution. The Illuminati that was created by the Jesuit Adam Weishaupt, the same people that gave you the calendar and the language. Yeah. So, yeah. That's why Hollywood's so full of predictive programming, and they always seem to know what's going to happen before anybody else does. I guess for one other familiar pattern, we talked about how today's date numerology is 66. It's also a date with a lesser numerology of 46. And again, this stuff comes right from the Bible. Genesis 46 is about sacrifice. Sacrifice equals 46. Lesser date numerology of 46. It makes me wonder, well, let's take a look at her IMDb real quick. What other roles did she do besides Annie Hall? I wonder if she had a movie in '79, which was 46 years ago. Wow, 70, that's funny. She was an actress in 70. Look at that. IMDb says she was an actress in 77 movies. Huh. 77. Annie Hall in 1977. Hold on, let's go back to 1979. I'm curious because that was 46 years ago. She did the film Manhattan in 1979. Also a Woody Allen film, huh? The life of a divorced television writer dating a teenage girl is further complicated when he falls in love with his best friend's mistress. Well, that's interesting because isn't Woody Allen in trouble for relations with a teenage girl? Woody Allen's time, I'm sure, is near as well. Uh, what is her role in Manhattan? Let's take a look. Diane Keaton plays the character. It says, okay, Manhattan is a 1979 American romantic comedy drama film directed by Woody Allen and produced by Charles H. Jaffe. I saw that's the same team that did the other movie, from a screenplay written by Allen and Marshall Brickman. Brickman. Got to be a nod to the Masons. His real name probably ends with Green or Stein or some jewelry. Allen co-stars as a twice-divorced 42-year-old comedy writer who dates a 17-year-old girl, Mariel Hemingway, but falls in love with his best friend Michael Murphy's mistress, Diane Keaton. Meryl Streep and Ann Byrne also star. Hold on. Diane Keaton's name is Mary Wilkie in the movie. Just out of curiosity. Huh. Those are some interesting numbers in there. And Diane Keaton has the Mary Wilkie. She was also in The Godfather, which has very similar numbers. Okay. It's funny how, for the record, you guys, all those 63s there, you throw a the in front of it. The Illuminati is right there as well. Well, in light of that plot sounding so much like Woody Allen and him being up there and this being so connected to him, so often when these celebrities die, when Woody Allen's obituary comes around, I'm sure it will be perfectly connected with the day that Diane Keaton passed. So, could be something more to think about. But yeah, a lot of people were asking if I could look into her passing. For everybody out there asking me to do it, you guys should try decoding yourself. I bet you'll do better than you think because really this stuff's not that hard. Uh, just like measuring from her birthday and typing in Annie Hall and going, well, 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 what do you know? What do you know? Because it really is, it's like this every time, isn't it? I mean, every time. Just so perfectly executed. And a lot of people say, only God could do this. This is just the way the universe works. Remember, the people who rule are controllers. They are control freaks. And that's why they are constantly trying to control you, your behaviors, what you're thinking about. That's why they put screens everywhere and made them super affordable because they want you to know their messages at all times. To make an analogy, since I'm exercising lately, there's like a Samoan guy who will come in the gym and he'll warm up by putting 4 plates on each side of the bench. And each plate's 45 pounds. So that's 405 pounds. most people will never be able to bench 405 pounds in their life. Like, it's just not even in the realm of possibility. They can train for the rest of their life, never going to be able to make it. Uh, Case in point, I worked out super hard from the time I was a teenager until the time I blew out my shoulder, which was right before my 30th birthday. And I got up to being able to bench 3 plates and a 5 pound on each side, which is about 325. And I had to really work for that. And it was super hard. Uh, and probably it's probably beyond what I should have been because I ended up blowing out my shoulder not long after. And it probably had something to do from strain on the bench. But the reason I'm making this analogy is because so many people think like, no man would ever be able to do this. You guys, there's people that are so brilliant and intelligent. They're light years ahead of almost everybody else. And no doubt the people who rule over us, a lot of them are in that league. Of course, some are born into it and just sit on the throne. But it gets annoying listening to people going, man could never do this. Why couldn't they? I mean, under what grounds couldn't they do it? I'm pretty sure they're doing it. What God likes to kill Hollywood actors by the numbers based on their Oscar-winning roles? I mean, that sounds like a pretty brain-dead theory, personally. So, what God likes to kill 20 to 30-some-year-old former black NFL players that are out of the league? Is that what God does for a hobby? Only God would do that? Is that what you guys think? As we cover black former college player, black former NFL player dead week after week. Nobody even cares. Chester Jones is dead right before Chester Arthur's birthday anniversary. 21st president. There's a whole bunch of 21s in the NFL on the anniversary of the 21st president's birthday. God did it. Yeah. Anyway, that stuff's got to stop too, because what it does is it helps those who are doing this get away with doing it. That's why I always say, like, even though I do think there is a creator, in a sense, I think humanity would be better off if we just got rid of this whole God idea. Too many things getting credited to God that don't need to be. Like killing black football players, which is half of your guys' theories out there. All right, True Seeker, we'll leave it there for now. And until next time.